without inking it again?
Defo.
He's there again.
Just as it is. Well, what do you ink it again with some? So, is that any better, Tony?
Less detailed, actually.
Less detailed?
It's cleaner there. Clean it there, smudgy.
Like the plates that some of them have a sort of coating on, and by going over it with a I don't know what it's called. I think for making texture.
A roulette?
Yes, that's the word. That's really interesting, and that's sitting in there now. It's just I'm just going to leave it in for ages and see what happens. So I'm trying to be fairly reasonable.
Sorry?
What are you using as your ground?
That's wax. That's Chinese ink, and that's permanent pen. And that's parcel tape.
Dance of the 7 layers. This is the dance of the 7 plates.
But just check with me, you'll never lose your aquatint on aluminium in the way that you lose it on, if you traditional etching on zinc. You can undercut your aquatint, so you can get a lovely black, leave it just that bit too long, and you've undercut it and it's gone. But it's not going to happen with aluminium, is it?
Well, what? No.
See here, little tiny white bubbles, which are really very nice, weren't they, Don? They were lovely, but most of them kind of disappeared, which is a bit sad. And I then stopped out, as I thought, quite a lot of those bubbles with stop out varnish, and I also drew into it with wax crayon.
Handle wax.
Okay.
First of all, before we get to that, these are things I've had for ages, which are aluminium plates that have some covering on. I never know what to do with them until today. So these just show.
What to do with
Yes, indeed. This is just being. This was using the wet and dry just to get through the surface, and that seems hasn't been very well.
Down here, clearly this was, you haven't wiped this sufficiently. So my hand picked it up.
So what? Switch the blame then.
What have you used as a resist here with those swirly bits in
Lipstick. My
it?
favourite.
Oh, that's
shade.
lipstick. And what's on the top?
Yeah. What's his name? Alex Baldwin's ground. And I just put some wax cleaner on it as well, so it just.
This was a bit of smudge shellac. And this was all sorts of writing, which you can't really see. I actually took great trouble to write backwards, but you can't read it. So,
Using shellac?
No, this was wax crayon and oil pastels and permanent marker, and it did actually have the words, which I'd carefully written back to front. So
Hot, because the timer, when you go off, it won't got to 5.
what was this scratching?
I think it was the end of a. It might have been a pencil or end
And
of a
was that
paintbrush.
scratching into margarine as well?
Yeah, I can't remember what I put down there actually. It was a mixture of everything in the end.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to do an offset print onto that and put that in,
Oh no, that's a
and
good
then print
idea.
that on the top.
Regenerate. So when we come in tomorrow, how many of you are coming in tomorrow? it'll go a greeny colour again. Okay. Or greeny bluey colour. And so you know that it's got.
But if you didn't come in tomorrow and wanted to use it in a month's time, could you bottle that?
Oh yeah.
Put it out again?
In fact, it would regenerate. In fact, when I take that back home, I'll put a small tray out for myself to use, but I keep the rest in a big tank.
Okay.
And then that will actually regenerate back to the same strength that we had this morning.
And there is the lipstick. Now don't you get me talked about it with this.
And which bit have you used that on then?
Here. The bit that you were saying, everybody's saying what a good texture that is. And I did a zigzag there.
Right.
But this has been through twice. So there was a zigzag which gave this crinkle. And I scraped through it put some shellac on, which is my own mix of French polish, but a very heavy shellac mix, and scratch through that to get this, and well, and that really. But I use a variety of crayons. This one was wax crayon. That was probably wax crayon, that one.
That's quite nice as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you see it printed here.
Yeah. Well, the first print I was a bit disappointed in because the ink was so thick. In fact, it was so thick it pulled the paper off.
Yeah, a bit,
Lifted the paper up there.
bit too heavily inked, and also maybe a bit sticky, the ink as well. But this has come out well.
Yes, it has.
Good range of tone there.
In fact, we should look at it the right way up. And the animal, although we've got writing, is still going to be back to front. That was, this was a big disappointment first time round, because the little animal I drew is almost invisible. But then taking this second pull, it becomes
Much clearer.
quite prominent. Yeah.
You see right through it. Oh, nice.
Like very, very long back. But that time put through the inkjet printer. Remember that?
Yeah. You could like you could hang them up, couldn't you, in front of the light?
I know.
And have layers of prints with light shining through
Yeah.
it.
I just think it's a real tramp, but they're so hard, difficult to get hold of.